Hey guys, welcome to the last episode of ICTU Copy, the Atticus limited series on everything Stranger Things. My name is Tamar Wachi, I'm your host, and I'm here with
Abigail Chesman.
And Abby was our guest for season 3 with other fellow guest Makai, and we're going to talk about season 5.
There's a lot to say.
There's a lot to say. I have a whole list of things to say. First, I want to talk about just, like, the overall vibes of the season. And then we can get to, like, the controversial stuff.
It was a crazy season.
It was a crazy season. Well, I think it only really got crazy towards the end. But in general, it was, I was entertained.
Yeah. I think it's really hard to wrap something up that is as big as Stranger Things is. And so in terms of, you know, tying things up and giving them an ending, I feel like they did a pretty good job. But it was definitely, like, the whole season was just trying to put all the pieces together and trying to wrap up this story that we've been following for almost a decade. And it was really crazy to see the response from the fans throughout this whole season and the way that everyone was reacting to this beloved show, like, ending. Because there hasn't really been a show that I feel like has been this big of a worldwide phenomenon since, you know, cable television. Everyone is in their own information silos. Not everyone's watching the same shows, but Stranger Things is so big. Almost everyone I know has seen Stranger Things.
That's really true. Like, the talk about Stranger Things being a universal phenomenon that everyone has seen is really real. And I feel like that really connected everybody, you know, viewers of the show, especially through social media. I feel like the social media campaigns this season specifically were huge. The branding, like, and the collaborations that they had with different brands, Conformity Gate, which we'll get to later. I just think, like, especially because the show has, you know, built legacy for Netflix, legacy for the Duffer Brothers, and the fact that we've been watching it for so long, I think just it creates a very, you know, large expectation, and, you know, some viewers may be disappointed by that. I'm, like, half in that box, half out of it. Yeah, but we'll get into all that. Let's start with happy stuff. What characters do you think, like, really just made it happen this season?
I mean, you know, I love Erica. She's one of my favorites. I feel like this season she really came into her own because especially in season 4, you know, she's growing as more of a character. But now, not only is she pretty much part of the gang, she's an instrumental part in helping them carry out their plans. I thought that was really big. I also thought that Steve, oh, gotta love him. He had a lot of, obviously he's had the most character growth, I think, throughout the course of the show. But the fact that, you know, he had this whole tumultuous relationship with Dustin this season that they overcame, and he overcame his rough relationship with Jonathan as well. I feel like he did a lot of work this season, and he was definitely, like, a driving force in getting things done.
The way that Steve and Dustin had their quarrels throughout the season and their big fight and everything, and the fact that it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, which is usually how Dustin's presence is, you know, interpreted. Right. Like, that, like, really floored me a little bit, like, in the first part of season 5. Like, I was not prepared for that kind of trauma to, you know, come out between those two boys. And then the thing with Jonathan that kind of got mended, you know, when he fell off of the radio tower and, like, almost fell off the radio tower.
Spoiler alert.
But yeah, I think that Steve has built and developed and furthered his relationship with a lot of really important people in season 5. I think his connection to Nancy was wrapped up really well. I think so many people were still about Stancy, and then, like, because of Jonathan and Nancy's breakup, now they're more focused on, like, oh my god, wait, maybe they were endgame. Like when we have that wrap up in the epilogue, when they're on the rooftop, you know, like, I feel like there's definitely, like, connection between Nancy and Jonathan there, and, like, I feel like they successfully shifted viewers' like attention in terms of, you know, their love triangle, which I think is a hard thing to do when everyone is so obsessed with Steve and Nancy. Yeah, I think Steve killed it. I think Murray, like, he's such a in my opinion, he's such a small character, but he has such of a large impact, and like, absolutely nothing. I mean, we could say this about any character, but I think he doesn't get as much, rep as he should. Absolutely nothing would have happened in season 4, finding Hopper, if Murray wasn't there to help with the doll that Joyce got, and like everything that happened with that, and the fact that he speaks Russian and how much that helped in season 3, and like him bringing the supplies for all of the crawls in season 5 and keeping everyone fed, and like, oh, I don't know. He's essential, even though he's such a small character that no one pays attention to.
No, I think he has such a big role in this season, and like he was so instrumental in making things happen. I also think Lucas has always been one of my favorites, but I just feel like his unwavering devotion to Max, like while she was in the coma, standing by her and like believing that she was still in there, like their love story was probably one of my favorite storylines in the whole show, and I loved how everyone kind of came together, especially, like, at the end when Max, they don't know this, but Max is, like, in Vecna's mind, and she's trying to get out, and she's with Holly, and Lucas is, like, holding her body, and they're in the laundry room, and the demo dogs come in, and they're sitting there with Vicky and Robin, and he's just holding her, and they're like, you have to turn the music off, dude, they're gonna find us, and he's like, no, I can't, like, I know she's still in there, like, I'm waiting for her, like, I have chills just thinking about it. And speaking of that scene, I'd like to talk about Karen Wheeler, because I remember when we did our podcast on season 3, I was so sure. I was like, the Wheelers, Ted and Karen are going to have such a big role in this season. Like, there's no way. And Karen was definitely very instrumental. I mean, she was a really amazing mom character to have in this season. Obviously Joyce is a great mom, but seeing Karen defend Holly in that very first episode, and like just seeing a mother's fury and like how she will do anything for her child. And then even when she's in the hospital and she hears over the intercom that, like, the demo dogs are coming for people that aren't even her kids, but, like, she feels like they're her kids, you know what I mean? She gets up and she knows what to do, and she gets the job done. And, I mean, I was so sure this whole season I was like, Ted Wheeler is going to have a moment where he's going to stand up and do something big. He never did. He was a useless character.
He got hit once.
I said it. He didn't need to be there. Could have been an email.
Yeah, okay, going back to what you said about Lucas, king boyfriend, like, best boyfriend on screen that we've seen in, like, hella long time. Love him. That's one of the moments that I wrote down for, like, my most, like, precious, like, oh my god, like, those kind of moments. Bringing back Steve at the end of the final battle, when they rescue all of the kids and Steve is cleaning off Derek's glasses with his shirt. Like, that made me die. I love that scene. I love that that was kept in. It really just, like, I believe that Steve would do that. And, with his character development in all 5 seasons, like, he's such a compassionate, like, kind person, and like, I can't with that. Like, that just made me really tear up at the end of the final battle.
I know. Wait, we have to talk about Derek. We haven't even talked about Derek.
I know. Okay, like, I kind of hated him in his introduction. I thought he was a brat. I thought he was going to add nothing. And then he did this 180 in 30 seconds, and I was like, wait, okay, maybe
Right.
They built him, like, really high just to really flip it around, and that's exactly what they did. Also, we can talk about this at the end, but are his parents, like, still in that barn? Like, let's talk about all the plot holes later.
But no, I think that Delightful Derek, he was such an unexpected character for this season, and I thought that, especially the scene where he makes it to Mr. What's-Its house, and he goes and he finds Max and Holly in the woods, and he's like, my best friend Mike, and they're like, how do you know Mike? And he goes, Mr. Mike is my best friend,
and Miss Robin.
Oh my god, it was just like the cutest thing, and I love that he had this character development in the span of like a couple episodes, and he became a really instrumental part of saving everybody. I really think that Holly was just such an instrumental character in this season. Obviously, she was one of the main characters, but I feel like we got to really get to know her and her character and her life in a way that we hadn't really before. And it was really great to see her grow into another strong female character on the show and to show herself and also little girls everywhere that, like, you can be your own hero, you know?
I think, like, we haven't really seen any of her relationship with her siblings, you know, like Mike and Nancy in any of the other seasons. She's just kind of been the baby, the child. And seeing Mike step up as an older brother, introducing her to Holly the heroic, like, you know, having her necklace, and then Nancy just being so determined to find her, screaming that she was there when, you know, she fell out of the sky when they were, you know, at the hospital, like, or at the lab. All of that, just, like, seeing their sibling bond, the first time that we've seen that in all 5 seasons, like, I think that was really special. And I think her recasting was, I mean, I don't know if that was, like, controversial or anything, but I think that was smart because Holly had some really intense, you know, professional acting required scenes. And
Yeah.
I don't know how old the actor, like, Holly's actor is, you know, the one that played Holly in the first 3 seasons. But, I mean, I think Nell Fisher did a really good job. She had, I think, the most screen time of any other character in season 5. And she used it well. Just because I've been watching the show for so long, I was a little bit disappointed that we were spending so much time on her and less time with, like, the characters that we've grown so fond of over the years. But this was Holly's and Will's season. Like,
Yeah.
and, you know, that concept is untouched. That's what it was. That's what we got. And I think, you know, I don't know. I enjoyed it.
It was good.
Yeah.
But I do agree, it was a little jarring at first. I was like, why are we talking about Holly? We've never talked about Holly. It's always been about our main gang of people. So I think that was definitely a shock for me and a lot of viewers. But looking back on the season as a whole, I think that it made a lot of sense that, like, she was the one that Vecna used to get through to the kids, to Hawkins, to, like, get to his plan. I also thought it was really interesting to see all of the little Wrinkle in Time Easter eggs they put in there, because, like, that's the book she's reading in the beginning, and then they call him Mr. What's-It, and they start comparing things, kind of like how the boys in the first season used D&D to explain everything. She was kind of using what she knew, which was A Wrinkle in Time, to make things make sense and rationalize things, which is why, you know, Escape from Camazotz, that we have to talk about that. But, like, just that whole idea of bringing in all these different science fiction fandoms and using those real literary works to explain other things in the show, I just really loved it. And I thought that it was her own way of, like, putting her personal spin on it, because she didn't know much about D&D until the end when she started playing with her friends, and it was like the whole cycle is starting again and the torch is being passed, and it was just, oh, it was so beautiful. It really was good. I liked the season.
That's another reason that I'm definitely backing, like, the decision to make Holly one of the main characters, because the full circle is, you know, completely brought from season 1, and, like, having the helpless, well, not helpless, but, like, the innocent children who have absolutely no idea what's going on back into this, you know, being wrapped up in the whole thing. Like, I feel like that occurrence really gives the older kids, you know, the chance to take on that role of maturity and, like, that kind of the bravery that's needed for that. You know, the stakes that it's not just their friends that are in danger, it's these kids who have absolutely nothing to do with this. And, like, and that's exactly what happened to Will. The whole town was searching for him. And, you know, just to bring back that same level of urgency with new kids who they have no connection to, I just think really, you know, shows their humility and their dedication to, like, really taking this thing down forever. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we would have seen the same level of anxiety, sadness, grief that we would have seen if it was just one of, you know, their same characters in their group, like, going through all of that.
Right.
I think, like, the element that it was another child, just like Will, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Will's, you know, comparison of him and young Henry and, like, that... you know, comparison of them as children, saying that Henry is the exact same as Will, is the exact same as these new kids. Like, it's really a multi-generational season, and
It really is.
Yeah.
And it really shows that the impact was so much bigger than we thought. It wasn't just, one kid having this one-off situation. Like, it was this systematic situation that affected all of these young kids, and it needed to be ended. It needed to be stopped. And I think, this is just one of the most powerful moments of the season for me, was when they're in the final battle and Joyce is chopping his head off with an axe. Spoiler alert. And every single time she would, make contact with him, she's like, this is for Eddie, and this is for Barb. I sat there, and I bawled my eyes out, and I was just, thinking about all of the people that had a role in this fight over the past 5 seasons, the people that laid down their lives for this fight, and the people that we lost along the way, and it was just, it was a really beautiful moment, and I think it's really difficult to come full circle with a show this big and to have this wrapped up, because it's such a big situation they've been dealing with. And I wonder, did the Duffer Brothers have this all planned out at the beginning? Did they know how big this was going to get? I have no idea.
The scene with Joyce and the chopping Vecna's head off, I think the editing is so strong in that scene, because the camera cuts to a close-up of every single person's face in that room, and just seeing and, flashing back to everything that those characters have been through throughout, all 5 seasons, seeing their grief, their sadness, their losses, their pain, all of that flashing with the chops of the axe and the anguish and anger from Joyce, my queen, It was such I think that's such a powerful scene, probably one of the most powerful scenes in season 5, and I think that had everyone crying, and I think it was really important. No matter if the character was large or small, I think it was really important to acknowledge how much that moment meant to every character there, and, the editing really, brought that home.
Yeah, and I think another moment that was really big for me was when Holly and Max are first together, and they're about to make it out and escape from Camazotz, and then Max makes it and Holly doesn't. That was a really crazy moment for me, because it was she came so far only to be sent back, and I know she felt alone and lost. She had lost her mentor, her guide, but it was now she was equipped with the tools to A, save herself, and B, help save the others. And at first I was so upset, because I was oh, she came all this way and she couldn't even make it back. But there was a reason. She had to go back so that she could be the one to mentor those kids and save them,
Especially because, there was so much of this talk on social media where, you're watching the lack of urgency that they both have, in that moment. It could have happened, but it didn't. And then we find out that, it's not because of their lack of sprinting that, resulted in Holly not making it. It was just that was Max's way of getting out, and Holly had to go through her way to do that. And
guys, it's called running up that hill, okay, not walking up that hill. Come on.
It should be sprinting up that hill.
Oh, come on. Yeah. Oh, my God. And the very first time when Max is recounting her experiences running through Vecna's mind, and we have that moment where she sees Lucas, and she's, so close, and she's running towards him, and I'm crying, and she's, almost there. And then the tape stops, and he, goes to start it again. All over social media, everyone was girl, you knew the song was ending. This is your favorite song. You've heard it for years. Come on. And I think that at first I was definitely on that train of okay, come on, you have to pick it up. This is a big moment for you. But then I also realized that she didn't quite know what was real at that point, because she had been running through Vecna's mind for a year at least at that time. And I think that it's really scary to be in that place when you don't know what's real, what's an illusion, what you can trust. It must have been insane. I can't even imagine trying for her, how she was feeling, trying to navigate that all by herself, not knowing if she was going to make it out ever. That was a really crazy part of this season. And I thought that it was really interesting the way that they made her into this mentor figure. Oh my God, the first time we ever saw her, that was a crazy moment. I was in shock. It was wild. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Max in this season?
Seeing her, come to Holly in Camzots. Like, I don't know. That was really great. I loved that. I was kind of floored. I screamed, I think, when I saw that for the first time. Seeing Max in that mentorship role again was just beautiful. Like, I loved that. I think, that was kind of running back season 3 a little bit with her mentorship with 11. And not that 11, was as much of a child as Holly is, but, the comparison of, like, 11 being really unfamiliar with the outside world and Holly being really unfamiliar with Henry's world and Henry's mind, and just Max having the emotional capacity and the emotional intelligence to guide those characters through it in a calm way, in a really cool way, like in a way that didn't scare them too much. Like, I don't know, that's a really important and valuable thing to be able to do, and I think Max is really good at that.
Yeah. And I also think, going back to some of the literary allusions we were talking about earlier, obviously there's all of the Wrinkle in Time stuff, but there were also a lot of parallels with Alice in Wonderland and even The Wizard of Oz. There was a lot of talks about how Holly kind of represented Alice in Wonderland, and, Mr. Whatsit was kind of like the White Rabbit, and maybe Vecna was the... It was kind of a whole twisted thing, but it was really interesting to see the parallels, especially in, like, costuming and in character mannerisms and the way that they kind of used those things as storytelling devices. I don't know how I feel about the Wizard of Oz comparison. I don't know if I really see that as much, but I definitely see the Alice in Wonderland vision with Max being the Mad Hatter and, like, just being in this place where you don't know what you can trust. Everything's kind of upside down,
Pun not intended.
Pun not intended. But I just think Holly was really... She did such a great job this season. Like, her acting was incredible, and she was so brave, and it was just a wild ride to witness all the things that were happening. And I thought that the way they broke up the show and released it in batches added to the tension, added to the, I'm on the edge of my seat, what's going to happen next? It made you more emotionally involved, or at least it made me more emotionally involved, because I was waiting months, and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen,
I love your mention of the production design, because speaking of positives, I think that's one of the strongest things to come out of this season. Like, I know there were a few errors with, like, 11's rash guard being Under Armour, but Under Armour not being founded yet or something like that. But there were, like, 5 characters, including Steve 11 and Erica, and Derek, I think, that wore custom Nikes throughout the whole show. And just, that collaboration, getting that to happen, I think is really cool. And then all of, like, the sets that were made, like, in real life that were not, computer generated at all. Like, the melting, like, walls of the lab that Nancy and Jonathan, got rescued from. Like, that's a real set. Like, their production designers made that, and there's videos on that, and I don't know. That's just so cool to me. And then, like, having the 3 different versions of every single outfit, like, regular, dirty, and then bloody, because they have to, like, look the same across months of wears and washes and, like, all that stuff. I didn't know that much, like, tedious work went into the costuming. I also want to talk about, like, the SFX makeup and stuff. Like, that is so cool. Like, the way that they did Karen's, like, big gashes across her, like, nightgown and her chest, from that opening fight with the Demogorgon, like, that was all real. That was all done practically, not by CGI or VFX, like, computer-generated effects at all. That's the same thing as, Dustin's makeup, and a lot of Vecna's costuming was also, like, done practically, and I think to stay true, to the baseline of technology that we had back then, and, like, to stay true to, like, making everything practically, which is something that they've been doing across, a lot of the other seasons, I think was just, good decision, good way to bring it home. And I loved the production design of this season. I thought, especially with, like, the more fall color palette that we had in seasons 1 and 2, specifically season 2, also, like, brought back those levels of nostalgia, because I wasn't in love with the color palette of season 4. So it really, like, oh, wait, this looks like my Stranger Things. And,
right,
yeah.
exactly.
Something that I want to talk about in terms of moments is, like, okay, to be honest, there were a couple of moments and episodes that I was like, okay, what am I watching? Like, if this wasn't Stranger Things, I feel like I would click off of it. Specifically talking about a couple of the writing choices, maybe.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. I feel like the sexual, like, lines and stuff is something that we've never seen in this show before. Like, and I was talking to my mom about this, and she said, well, you know, the characters are mature now. And, you know, I think that's just, you know, a symbol of, like, them having the emotional capacity and, like, knowing to talk about that stuff now. And, you know, it was really common to do that in the 80s. And I'm like, yeah, but this is Stranger Things. Like, and I feel like this is an oddity that shouldn't be here. And, like, I don't know. I wasn't vibing with it. But
like
besides
Robin
that,
in the tunnels.
there was something that I thought was, like, peak Stranger Things is the best, and that is the development of Will and Robin's relationship.
Oh,
I actually could not get enough of that. Like, I was eating every scene of them up. And honestly, it got me really scared. Like, I was like, oh my god, wait, what if Robin dies? Because, like, they were really building up her importance in terms of her relationship with Will, which didn't exist before this season.
Right.
But I thought she played a humongous, incredible role when it comes to Will's comfortability with his identity. Because, like, when he's talking with her about Robin and Vicky kissing, he, like, asks, like, what makes you guys want to kiss?
Right.
And I'm like, oh my god, my poor baby Will. Like, and then, you know, Robin explains all of it. I think she's just a really, really, really great mentor and big sister, and, you know, like, their hug, just everything. I ate up every single scene of them two. I could not get enough of it. It was perfect. I loved it. And, yeah, not so much Will's coming out scene.
No.
But, like, I really, really enjoyed Will and Robin's relationship this season. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah. It really was so great. And it really was, like you said, peak Stranger Things, because so much of Stranger Things for me has been how the older kids and the younger kids kind of work together, and they kind of come together and they're mentors for each other, and the way that they begin to become friends over the course of the seasons. Because at the beginning, you know, Mike is Nancy's annoying little brother, and, you know, Dustin's just his friend who's like, if you want pizza, there's pizza. And she's like, thanks, Dustin. Like, I don't really care. But by the end, they're all a family. They're all equals. And I think another moment that was, like, peak Stranger Things for me is when Dustin is figuring out that the Upside Down is a wormhole, and it's, like, the bridge, because that was, like, that crazy moment when it really became all the science was coming in, and everything Mr. Clark was talking about in class came into play, because he always talked about something in class that had to do with the science behind whatever was happening. And that was just like a peak Stranger Things moment for me. And I was like, of course they're figuring that out. Like, it all makes sense now.
Mr. Clark.
Oh, Mr. Clark was great in this season.
He's so freaking great. And I also, like, I love, you know, his influence as a teacher, because that's a real thing, you know? And I also love that they got their old theater teacher to play Derek and Holly's teacher for the little kids class. And, like, I don't know, I thought that cameo was, like, really great, really precious. I loved that.
Is it time to talk about Will's coming out scene?
Okay, yeah. So we can talk about Will's coming out scene. I thought it was too long. I thought it wasn't as warm, it wasn't as personal as I thought it should have been. I thought, yeah, I don't know.
Why were there so many people there? What were they doing there?
Why were there so many? Why was Collie there? Like, I don't know. I don't think that should have included everyone. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it didn't hit me. I feel like a big reason why it doesn't hit as much for the audience as maybe the Duffer Brothers were hoping is because we all know that Will is gay. Like, that is not a secret. It hasn't been a secret since, like, season 2. And that came to absolutely nobody's surprise. I don't know. I feel like we've known this for so long. It was not a shock to us. And the way he delivered it, I just think was not what audiences wanted. I'm not a member of the LGBTQ community, but I've heard some things from, you know, their perspective and just how they thought that representation was executed, and they're not fans either, I'm hearing is, like, the general consensus, What do you think about it?
I think, especially considering Robin's coming out scene and how well executed that was, I think fans had really high hopes for this because, obviously, like you said, we know Will's gay. We been knew, you know. But having the stark contrast between Robin and Will in their coming out scenes, this, I think, was a big factor in Conformity Gate, which I know we haven't spoken about yet, so I don't want to, like, talk about it too much, but I definitely think the inconsistencies in his speech, the fact that it was so long, the fact that there were so many people there, I thought it was just not great. It was kind of painful to watch, honestly. Like, the writing wasn't great, and I don't know if you saw the SNL sketch that came out a couple weeks later. I mean, they did a really good job illustrating, like, just how long it was, but I don't know. I had a lot of problems with it. I just didn't think it was great. And there were so many inconsistencies that made me think that, oh, clearly this is not the right ending. Clearly this is like a warped version of reality. So, of course, there must be a secret extra episode. That makes sense. Yeah.
I think one thing that, like, was really good in Will's coming out scene was just the looks between Steve and Robin and Steve's hand being on Robin's shoulder that whole time and, like, you know, that nonverbal communication that, like, hey, like, I'm here for you. Like, especially because I don't think Steve knows that Will and Robin have been connecting so much in the past few weeks, like, at this point. Mm-hmm. So even just, like, not knowing that Robin is, like, the main reason that Will's is coming out to his family and friends, like, and Steve still, like, you know, recognizes that this is a really important moment, not only for Will, but could also be for Robin, just,
right,
you know, in terms of, you know, nostalgia and things like that. And, yeah, I thought that was a great little add-in. I wonder if that was, like, a director's choice or if that was a choice of Steve's or of Joe Keery's or Maya Hawke's.
That's a really good question.
Anyway,
I have no idea.
Conformity Gate, the thing that broke the entire internet. I was not sucked into it, but there were a couple reels on the whole Instagram that it pulled at me a little bit.
I was way deep in it. My whole family was deep in it. I think I once spent an entire day convincing my whole family that it was real. I got really into the theories. I don't know if I'm proud of it, but it's true. I'm being very vulnerable right now on ICDU Copy. It all made so much sense to me. Like, all of the things that I had read. Basically, for those of you who don't know, can I give a little?
Yes, please do.
So Conformity Gate was the belief that there was some sort of meta story within a story and that Vecna was controlling everything that we had been seeing and that in the final battle or in an extra secret bonus episode, we were going to see that Vecna had actually been controlling the narrative and that's why the dialogue felt weird and all these parallels were happening and then we were going to see the real unfiltered version of things. So some concrete things that backed this up. For instance, the dial that they turn on the, what would you even call it, the electric tower?
Yeah, it was like the wattage like thing.
It changed colors. From the first volume to the second and third. Also, in Will's big coming out scene that we were just talking about, there were 12 people present, 6 boys and 6 girls. You know where else there were 6 boys and 6 girls? Oh, in Mr. What's-It's house, actually. Fun fact. Also, in his big speech that he gives, he talks about all these things that made me and my family be like, what? That's not true. He was like, oh, guys, I'm just like you. I love getting lost in the woods. No, you don't. That's where your biggest trauma ever came from.
The milkshakes.
We like biking to Melvald's to get milkshakes because for those of you who are not hip and have not seen Stranger Things on Broadway, including me, I'm not hip. I haven't seen it. I didn't really like how it was canon and, like, there were so many moments when it would have helped to have seen that show.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Because not everyone has access to that.
Right. I didn't have access to it, and I had to just do all this research. Mm-hmm. But anyways, in Will's coming out scene, he talks about biking to Melvald's to get milkshakes, and if you just heard that, you'd be like, okay, whatever. But as we know, Melvald's is the general store where Joyce works, and they don't have milkshakes, but in the Stranger Things on Broadway play that centers around Henry/Vecna/1 and his life, he went there to get milkshakes. And so that's why people were like, oh, maybe Vecna is possessing him and using him as a puppet, and that's why, like, he's saying all these things that aren't true. And there were just so many moments that, like, made so much sense, or so I thought. And I don't know, I was a little disappointed when it didn't necessarily end up the way I thought it did. I still think it ended well. Maybe I got too sucked into the theories, but It was a lot. People went kind of crazy. The whole internet, I feel like, went crazy about it.
I just think, like, less on the fact that there wasn't a ninth episode, more on the fact that the entire internet was just blowing up about Conformity Gate. There was a day, I have a screen recording on my phone of, like, real Conformity Gate, Conformity Gate, Conformity Gate, Conformity Gate, Conformity Gate, and it just could not escape my feed. And it was really hard to, like, stay true and to block out all the noise, because I knew it wasn't real, but, like, it was, I would have felt like such an idiot if it was real.
I'm
and
impressed.
I was just completely, like, shaming all of my friends that were believing in it, and then it was real, but I wasn't in it. Like, I was not about to believe Conformity Gate. And thank God, because I wasn't as disappointed.
I'm really proud of you for staying
you.
true to yourself and not getting sucked in by all of the theories. There was a lot going on.
Yeah.
First of all, where was Vicky at the end? We spent all this time where Robin is like, yeah, like, I thought that, damn, it was, the one for me, but it wasn't, okay? Like, Vicky was the one. And then at the end, Vicky's not even there. And obviously, I'm so happy that Joyce and Hopper made it to Enzo's finally. But I thought it would have made total sense if they just, like, panned the camera over and, like, oh, there's Robin and Vicky right there, That would have made sense.
Having the same ring that Jonathan was going to propose to Nancy with as the ring that Hopper proposed to Joyce with, ridiculous choice. Crazy choice. Like, the amount of production design that went into literally everything else, and they couldn't get 2 rings. Like, let's be for real. Also,
Right.
How did they didn't grab the ring out of the melty room when they escaped. Like, right? Or am I crazy?
To my knowledge, they didn't.
I feel as though Jonathan threw it and they didn't look back. Like,
Right.
But apparently they did, because then he gave it to Joyce, and then Joyce gave it to, and then they gave it to Hopper, and then Hopper gave it to Joyce, and then
Right.
I just don't think that's true.
Yeah.
I fear that is one of the many plot holes of season 5. This is not a plot hole, but I quickly want to talk about, like, actually, no, this is a plot hole. Why are the Demogorgons and everything, like not controlled at this point in time? Like, why can they open a portal? How can we open portals now? Like, or open gates? Like, they can make gates anywhere, and we've never seen that before. Like, that's kind of crazy. And I know, like, the whole, like, the vines of the gate are spread all throughout Hawkins, but, like, them just making a gate in the Wheeler house.
Right. That's crazy.
Like, I don't think that's real. I want to quickly debunk the people that think that everyone, like, masking up, to enter the Upside Down, and then all of a sudden it being, like, everyone can, like, walk in and out with no problem. I think that is because they didn't know what the Upside Down was, and they were, like, only, like, suiting up and stuff because they were afraid of what it could be, not because they had proof that it was a toxic environment.
Okay. That's fair. I will take it.
Because, like, the way that they spray Hopper off,
Right.
I think in the second season, first season, like, that kind of stuff, that stuff did not occur in season 5, but I think it's because, like, they know now that the Upside Down doesn't cause, like, at least immediate, health issues. So, like, I don't think that that's a plot hole.
Okay.
But it would have been awesome for that to be explained or something.
It would have been nice. And I also think there were just some crazy moments. Like, when did they have time to build this entire underground government lab in the Upside Down? What's the deal with the big wall? Like, just all of these things that I was like, oh, like, what's going on there? And then even at the graduation, first of all, I thought Dustin did a great job. And I love Max. Okay, that's my girl. But she was in a coma for, like, 2 years. How did they let her graduate high school?
Yeah.
And then, like, the government is hunting everyone down in the Upside Down. They get them all the second they come out of the Upside Down after Hopper has killed many government agents. And they just let them go? And they let Hopper go back to being police chief, and they don't arrest anyone? And they just, like, how do they cover it up so well? I have so many questions about the government. I thought that was all a mess. I didn't like the government because you never knew who you could trust.
Yeah.
And you couldn't really trust anyone. And the whole situation with the pregnant women, that scene gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Are they still alive? Did they get off of the blood? Did they survive that? Where are they? Yeah, that's definitely
It was
huge
crazy.
plot.
It was crazy.
Do you think Eleven's alive?
I think I want to believe that she's alive, but I don't think she is.
What do you feel, like, how do you feel about Mike's retelling of the story and, like, and, you know, with the sound and, like, you know, her kryptonite and everything? Like, do you buy into that? Do you not? I think, I don't know. I think Eleven's alive, personally. Like, I don't know. Like, I think Eleven's alive, and I think Collie wasn't dead yet. And I think, like, I don't know. But maybe that's, like, my conformity gate. That's, like, my thing that I'm allowing myself to buy into for my sanity. You know what I mean? Like, if you can have conformity gate, I can have Eleven's alive.
I respect that. I think that I feel like Mike was telling that story to make himself feel better and, like, convince himself that she had a happy ending. I also really quickly just want to bring up the fact that it was so instrumental and, like, groundbreaking that they used not one but 2 Prince songs in this finale, because Prince never allows his songs to be used. Like, they're never used in anything, although he was in an episode of New Girl one time. Shout out New Girl. I just thought that was, first of all, the perfect song choices. When Doves Cry and Purple Rain, like, beautiful, beautiful song choices. And the fact that, like, Murray puts down the vinyl and, like, they start the record, and then it's like, you hear the first song on the record, and then you hear the last song on the record, and it's like all that time has passed and all that stuff has happened, and it's like the whole time the soundtrack is just so good. The soundtrack for this season, as always, was great. I love the soundtracks. Every season they smash it out of the park.
Like, one thing that's very, very, very consistent throughout all 5 seasons. The music is always perfect.
Yeah, and the sound design is really good.
Yeah.
I thought, overall, they did a really good job. It was a really difficult task they were handed to wrap up this pretty much decades-long production with 5 seasons and this huge story arc and all of these characters and this crazy interdimensional battle. And I feel like, overall, they wrapped it up in a good way. Most of the characters got some sort of a satisfying ending. We didn't lose too many characters. I thought we were going to lose, like, really big people. We were worried about Steve.
That's another thing. No one died.
Henry, Vecna, One, Mr. Whatsit, and Callie. Those were the 5 deaths of the season. They were like, there's going to be 5 deaths this season, and those were the 5 deaths.
Yeah. And then give or take 11.
Oh, yeah. Depends what you think.
The immediate forgetting of that.
Right, totally forgot. Main character of the show kind of passed away.
Yeah.
Maybe didn't. Who's to say?
Like, actually, no one died. I would have been, I think, a little bit more satisfied with the season if more characters did die, and if there's a little bit more of that grief, a little bit more of, like, oh my god, it's over. Like, now I'm like, okay, it's over.
Stakes.
Everyone's alive. Like,
there were no stakes, especially in the final battle. There were no stakes.
The only stakes were the kids, and that's it.
Right. And, like, obviously, that's terrible. These are innocent small children, but we also, like, don't know them.
True.
Yeah.
There's, like, no emotional connection to them at all. So is season 5 my favorite season? No. Is, like, did it do its job, like, mostly? Yes.
Yes.
Did I enjoy it? Mostly yes.
I agree.
There are flaws. However, I think season 5 is overhated.
I agree.
I think, I don't know. I've seen it twice. I don't know if a third watch would be, like, beneficial for me to change my mind about that or anything. But, like, as of right now, season 5, not my favorite season, but I also, like, it's probably my least favorite season. But I don't think it's the worst thing in the world at all.
Yeah.
Overhated. I heart Stranger Things, and I'm going to be returning to season 3 very, very soon because it's my favorite.
The best season. Honestly, sorry, they peaked at season 3.
Agree.
Could not have gotten better.
No.
And it didn't get better. But you know what? They wrapped things up. They put a bow on it. It was a really awesome journey. And for me, at least, in my life, it's the first time that I have been part of a phenomenon like this, where I watched the show kind of happen over the course of my life. And, like, I grew up with these characters. Like, when I saw the finale and they all graduated high school, and, like, I graduated high school barely a year ago, and it's like, it was just a really crazy moment for me. And seeing the way that the whole world reacted to this and knowing, like, oh, like, there's never going to be a time before Stranger Things ended again. Like, now the finale's out. Like, the show is over. And it was just really exciting. And it was a really unique show. It was one of its kind, I think.
I agree. Thank you so much, Abby, for being on the podcast. I appreciate you so much from your, insights to season 3 and season 5. It's been really awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Tamar. I love being here.
Well, this is the last episode of ICU Copy. Thank you so much for watching these episodes and being on this journey with us. And go check out the Atticus other podcasts.